So I've talked before about the multi-level marketing scheme that is the right and that is conservatism. So it's a lot like Tupperware or Mary Kay or doTERRA or whatever. It's a product that might very well be high quality and good. And it's not sold at a store.
It's a scam.
Either digitally or physically.
It's
sold through friendships in a way. And those friendships are called down channels, downstreams. And what happens is it is a pyramid scheme in effect. Although it's not quite as elaborate as a pyramid scheme as Bernie Madoff, where he was literally paying people out with the new revenue that was coming in and not really investing anything. It was a house of mirrors. It's not a pyramid scheme in the sense of, I remember back in the 90s, there was something where it was like women helping women. And so I think you get two friends to give you each $1,000, and then they'll get two friends to give $1,000 to them, like women helping women. That's just a direct pyramid scheme. Obviously, the first person is benefiting because the first person doesn't give anyone any money. And at some point, you're going to run out of people. So it's just ultimately not sustainable, and it's going to collapse, and it's going to create heartache, et cetera. But an MLM structure, there's the center, you could say. And that center is the GOP, but it probably is Trump and MAGA. But I think Trump's above MAGA. MAGA is a subset of Trump, and maybe even the GOP is a subset of MAGA at this point. And you have all these different down channels, downstreams, where you're basically selling Trump to different audiences. So if this is Tupperware,
right? Because
Susie in Oklahoma,
I mean, that's an interesting point, because what did Trump do? Right? Trump went all in with the Israel lobby, and all in with on this 2024 run, all in with the tech bros, and they control a vast majority of the capital in this country. I'm not surprised by that at all. If the GOP is a subsect of MAGA, of course, yeah, I would believe that too.
Is going to make a different pitch than Sally, who lives in Seattle, Washington, or Jennifer, who lives in New York City. They have different sets of friends. They're mutually exclusive, and they're going to talk about the benefits of Tupperware in different ways for those different audiences. But the money flows up to Tupperware HQ. And Sally in Seattle, I believe is where she was, or was she from Oklahoma? I forgot. Sally from Seattle, she's going to sell Tupperware to friends, and then that friend is going to start creating a different down channel. Maybe that down channel will be bigger than Sally's. Maybe it probably will be smaller. And so the money is going to flow to Sally, and then it's going to flow to Tupperware, and Sally gets a little cut of it. It's an MLM scheme. These are somehow legal. They're very popular in Utah among Mormons for some reason that I don't quite know.
I wonder why.
They're just friendly, I guess. And that's
a
way of doing it.
They're just friendly people.
Cold reality of just buying something.
Or it's a CIA op.
It's about friendship and mission. Maybe that's why it appeals to Mormons. Who knows? But the right is an MLM, and you have different down channels. So there's the Tucker downstream. There's the Fox News downstream. There is the Daily Wire downstream. And there's even the Nick Fuentes downstream.
Yes.
Where Nick Fuentes is racialist, at least off and on. He's a Catholic. He's a Christian nationalist. He is anti-Zionist.
We also call this political feudalists, if you will. You have these spheres of different political influencers who then, off of those people, they branch off other people. Like, where do you think Hassan came from? Where do you think Vaush came from? They came from Destiny. Destiny was like one of the first. He had people branch off of him. Now you get two communists running around. Now people are probably branching off of them. And there's going to be some new asshole who's downstream from Hassan or downstream from Vaush.
Maybe anti-Semitic. I'm not trying to tar and feather anyone. I'm just pointing out the realities of this. His downstream probably doesn't have any crossover with the Daily Wire's downstream. Maybe a little bit. His probably has a lot of crossover with Tucker's downstream.
Yep.
But the thing is, they're all going up to Trump.
So I think Candace is downstream from Tucker, and Dave Smith is also downstream from Tucker. Make of that what you will, but I think there is an element of they're in a kind of a sphere together. Something I noticed, especially when Nick and Candace were beefing, the people who came to bat, the people he was attacking, it was just you see this polarization instantly emerge.
From this in some way, as is the GOP and as is MAGA writ large. So Nick took a very interesting turn after the assassination attempt on Trump. Mute, guys. Yeah, I'll mute these. He took an interesting turn after the assassination attempt. It was really after Vance was appointed to VP, which happened shortly after.
Is he doing coke?
The Republican National Convention. And
he's on coke, guys.
Maybe Trump should lose. Don't vote for Trump. Now, I would imagine a ton of groypers, to the degree to which they're old enough to vote, did vote for Trump. And at the very least, were rooting for Trump and probably tweeted a lot in favor of Trump. But at least from the top, it was, no, Trump is not our guy. We're suspicious of JD Vance. He's pro-Israel. Now, he didn't do what I did, which is just outright say vote for Kamala Harris. But it was a sort of negative reaction. It was a kind of independence move from the MLM structure.
And keep in mind, what was the reason why he was against JD Vance? It was the pro-Israel thing for sure, but that's a little bit of a simplistic take on it from Richard's end here. But it was further than that. It was that he was a fraud and he was a fake and he was a shill for Peter Thiel. And Peter Thiel is working with the CIA. That was the major point on why he didn't like JD Vance. JD Vance was essentially pushed up to the forefront to be the vice president, the second most powerful person in the world, at the behest of Peter Thiel. That was the problem, at the behest of venture capitalists and technocrats. That was the big negative. That was my big negative. The Israel shit, all the other shit, yeah, we know. That's just run-of-the-mill shit that we don't like about the GOP. But the other stuff, that was really not good.
And maybe you could say the money would flow to Nick, not to MAGA. I don't think it actually happened that way. I think Nick remained a downstream channel of Trump and MAGA to some degree, but it was a move towards independence. Absolutely given that. And you could say that the, quote, generational run of going on all these podcasts, Patrick Ben-David, is furthering Nick's independence because he is introducing himself to these audiences. He's grafting a little bit of legitimacy from these people. I mean, Patrick Ben-David interviewed Netanyahu and Donald Trump, I'm sure, and JD Vance. So he also interviewed Nick Fuentes. So he's grafting a little bit of legitimacy from that, but it's all towards the independence. Well, my fear, and again, this is entirely coming from my perspective. It's not Nick's perspective. He can take this criticism or leave it. It's up to him. My fear is that doing something like going on with Tucker Carlson, you're just creating a new downstream channel from MAGA and Trump, period. And a lot of those criticisms of MAGA and Trump that you made 6 or a year ago are now.
And that's my whole thing, is what I've been trying to suss out, and time will tell. We don't really know, but my whole thing was that I think there's absolutely been a change with Nick Fuentes, America First, and the Groypers, that whole movement. And I think that's what's allowed him to be accepted into and grafted onto the right wing, a more legitimate right wing. And you can say that they've tried to form they're trying to form their own dissident right wing, which is like Tucker, Candace, Dave Smith, maybe all these people, right? Maybe Alex Jones is in there somewhere. Maybe you can grab Joe Rogan. I don't even know, because, Dave Smith and Joe Rogan absolutely are good friends. But I always think, well, what did he do? What did Nick do to be accepted into that? What did the elites, what did the top down say was okay? All right, now it's okay to have this guy on. And then we start to see, I think Nick's been changing his speech a lot, his speech patterns, what he's talking about. And it's not necessarily like the views in the movement, but there's absolutely seemingly to be a softening on the edges where he's trying to look more presentable. He's trying to be more presentable. He's trying to be a little less black and white on things, which was always his MO, was to be black and white about everything, about blacks, about Jews, about Republicans, about Democrats. It was always just black and white. And that was kind of what got him the audience he had and skyrocketed him to the position he's in. But that was also the reason why he never had any legitimacy in the right wing. It was because people didn't want to, you are not a person we can sell. We cannot sell you to the American people because you're too prickly, you're too radioactive, and we don't want any part of that. But now there's for some reason they want a part of him. Now they're like, okay, yeah, we'll have you on. Yeah, we're down with that. Yeah, we're okay.
All sort of moot at best, if not negated. And Tucker, he'll vaguely talk about 9/11, almost playing footsie under the table with 9/11 conspiracy theorists, although not exactly. He'll just sort of flirt with that. He'll be like, oh, the Pharisees, they just said, let's just kill Jesus. And that's what the liberals did, or maybe the Jews did to Charlie Kirk. He's sort of indicating these things without fully saying them. Now, you could say that this is the amazing art of parataxis, I believe is what it is, or the amazing art of writing under persecution, of subliminal messaging, and so on. Or you could say he's afraid of his own convictions, or he can't articulate himself. Both might be true, or a mix of both might be true. But he flirts with anti-Semitism. He calls out the neocons in all these different ways, often, even though the neocons are no longer in power. And that seems to be a sort of proxy for Jews.
No, they're not.
So he plays with the race stuff. He's doing that at Fox News. He plays with the Jew stuff. He plays with the Zionism stuff. And isn't this amazing? One thing I would just say is that to think that Tucker Carlson is not a downstream channel of Donald Trump is entirely naive. He is 100% sending 100% of his audience to go vote for Trump and to maybe give Trump money. Now, he might say all this stuff about the neocons taking over the GOP, or, our government just hates us. They hate Christians. Or he might say all this stuff, but I'm sorry, he is not an independent actor. He is an independent media personality, but that does not mean he's an independent actor.
No, and we've all been skeptical. Have we all forgotten his dad was in the CIA and he lied about it? And then he wears the Kabbalah bracelet. He goes, I don't know where I got this. I think a friend gave this to me. What did he say? Some bullshit like that? I was just given this and I wear it. What are you talking about? There's something going on with Tucker, and his dad literally ran propaganda, Voice of America in South America. He ran this propaganda channel. Now he comes out and he apparently wanted to be in the CIA. He wanted to, but he didn't have what it took. And then all of a sudden now he's in media and he's on Fox News and he's pushing all the right wing talking. Like, no, there's something there. And I think people are overlooking it.
And if you think otherwise, I would just simply say, I think you're being naive, and I strongly disagree with you. That is a tentacle of the Trump MLM structure. Alex Jones is as well. Alex Jones is another down channel of MAGA. He wasn't always like that. He was a down channel of the Ron Paul movement in 2008 and 2012. He was, you could say, a totally independent actor who said both sides are controlled by the same entities. The two parties are two wings of a bird of prey. There's
that's what I said.
Times worth of difference between Republicans and Democrats. He might have said things like that 20 years ago and was genuinely independent, even if his audience was probably 70 or 80% right wing. But he's not that anymore. And even if he talks about aliens, either reptile shapeshifters or first contact gray beings who landed in Nevada, or whatever he wants to talk about, he still is pushing money, influence, attention, energy, votes up the channel towards doTERRA, or in this case, Trump, towards Tupperware or Amway or whatever the hell. It is an MLM structure. So there's sort of a good and bad side to Nick being buddy-buddy with Tucker Carlson. Because Nick Fuentes, you could say, would be just like the kind of young version of Alex Jones. Different. Alex Jones is Texan. He's Protestant. He's, was reared in Ron Paulism and the gold standard. It's different. There's no doubt. Nick from Chicago, Illinois, he's Catholic. He's more kind of liberal nationalist, you could say, on policy. Whatever, but it's sort of a new version of this same outsider who's not actually an outsider. And there's actually someone on here right now that I was talking to, and I said
he was an outsider though.
Here's the tell with all this stuff
for a very long,
is that if
for a
Nick
very long time,
basically comes around to JD Vance, I think that will be a tell, because that was a very strong position he took.
Yes,
a bold and brave position, and it's a position that goes against everyone else's position who's roughly his age.
Yeah, let's replay that. I think that's a very astute point from Richard here.
Here's the tell with all this stuff is that if Nick basically comes around to JD Vance, I think that will be a tell, because that was a very strong position he took, a bold and brave position.
If he comes around to JD Vance,
goes against everyone else's position who's roughly his age. Because I think actually the young people at TPUSA and the dissident right, Sovereign House, Teal Sphere, they like Vance for reasons I cannot explain.
Well, I can explain them.
And he bucked that trend, and it's just sort of a signal.
Because they're all paid by Peter Thiel.
We can get into it listening to the interview, and I haven't listened to the full thing. I've just seen clips. I might be surprised and change my mind. Fair enough. But I did hear things like in this interview and previous interviews, like, why do they want to kill us? Well, they want to kill. I won't imitate Nick. The liberals want to kill us. Now, Nick, of course, his position here is totally defensible, because a liberal, or at least someone suffering from debilitating schizophrenia, did literally try to kill him. So I will actually give him a pass on that kind of outrageous sentiment. There was a crazy person who went to his house and was eventually killed by police, if I remember correctly. So anyway, a man who was totally out of his mind. And that is dangerous, and that changes you. To be fair to the liberal woman who came to his house who got pepper sprayed, I doubt she wanted to kill Nick. I will, just to be fair here. But it's still, nevertheless, scary when someone comes to your house. They're sort of invading your space. Can you trust them, et cetera? So I'll give him a little bit of a pass on this sentiment. But that whole idea of the liberals want to castrate or trans your children, the liberals are going to just start shooting everyone, every conservative, beginning with Charlie Kirk, and so on. Yeah, you can find some people who might even say these things, but they'll act on it. But what I'm looking at is, even if there's some truth to it, and I'm granting some truth to it, the pathology remains. The pathology is, this is the most important election of our lifetime. We have to put differences aside and just vote the GOP, or we'll all be dead, or our kids will be transed, the national debt will explode, we'll go to war. It's that type of reasoning that I would really push back on in a number of different ways. First off, I think we're going to war. We've already gone to war in effect with Trump, and I think I'm 80% certain that something is going to happen to Venezuela, in fact. So, yeah, he's going to take us to war. The trans stuff, he's pushed back on it in the second term. The trans stuff amplified itself in his first term. It's a kind of a mixed bag. Whether Trump really ended the trans stuff, or whether the trans stuff was burning out anyway because it was becoming illegitimate among New York Times readers and average liberals, it's a complicated phenomenon. But I'm granting some truth value to all these things. I don't think these people are totally wrong when they say, if we don't vote for the GOP, we're going to be literally dead. All I'm pointing out is that type of reasoning, that pathology of reasoning. People were saying this exact same thing in 2010. They're saying it in 2004. They're saying it in 2000. They're saying it in 1996. I mean, even when Bill Clinton got elected. I've heard this throughout my entire life. And at the GOP has put up zero resistance to all of these things that they worry about. And in many ways, the GOP has itself been the vehicle for many of these bad things.
Aided these things, yeah.
So does Nick want to become another down channel of Trump? It could be more profitable. It could be more exciting. It could have more influence. Fair enough. Again, he doesn't owe me anything. He can take my criticism and leave it or listen to it. It's up to him. Does he want to be an independent entity, or does he want to be a kind of colorful character who's barely tolerated by MAGA? Because that's what he looks like now is, well, you're just a cute kid, aren't you? You're so funny. You agree that porn is bad. Oh, that's great. Yeah. Liberals also say that, by the way. But anyway, I don't need to nitpick all of these positions. And it's like what Tucker does with Alex Jones. Well, how are you so right? Alex Jones, he's so authentic. He's just a real dude. It's the same thing they do. It's this thing, it's a colorful, clownish entity that they barely tolerate that is ultimately maybe their downstream channel, but definitely a downstream channel to MAGA.
What he's saying is like maybe he's now being grafted into being allowed on these channels, but he's still not being taken seriously. And there's one more step he needs to take. I don't know what that's going to be, but the interesting point is, and I kind of agree with him, because what he said about JD Vance, if he comes around to JD Vance, that's a tell. That's a big tell. What the hell happened with that Tucker interview? What happened to all the animosity you had just a month or two prior when he was beefing with Candace and everybody, and he went on and did a tell-all about Tucker Carlson and his father, and he was riffing and yelling, and then he gets on his podcast and they're friends. I thought you were a fan. I thought you were a fan. Well, buddies. They're buddies now. He just accepted it. He just is like, oh yeah, Tucker's a good friend of mine. Yep, we're good. Even though I totally riffed into his whole life and I called him a Fed and a CIA agent. But now I'm on here and I'm going to affirm that I thought he was a Fed and he's not. He's not a Fed, guys. Wait, what the fuck just happened? What is going on? You're pulling the wool over my eyes. What the hell is going on? I mean, is it just me, or am I going crazy? There's a bag of shit somewhere and I'm smelling it. There's a stinky diaper somewhere and I can smell it from here.
And I'm telling you this right now, and you need to be with me on this. You need to raise your right hand right now. If JD Vance condemns the Groypers, if JD Vance signals to the Israel First lobby that he is condemning the America First movement, then we will not vote for him, we will not support him, and as a matter of fact, we will show up in Iowa, and then New Hampshire, and then Nevada, and South Carolina to make sure that he never gets the nomination.
What? He already claimed he was going to do that.
That's the only way we can play this.
He already claimed he was going to do that months ago when he was on stream with Myron and Andrew Tate. He claimed he was going to... The Groypers are going to descend upon Iowa in 2028. That's what he said, because of fat JD Vance. Remember, he called him a fat ass? But now he's saying, hey, right hand to God, if you disavow us, then we will do it. So now he's adding a qualifier on that to say, hey, we won't do it, even though you said you were, but we won't do it now if as long as you don't disavow us, we won't do anything. What?
Because the Israel First lobby and the $7,000 club, they are going to be on his ass. And they're going to be all over him, telling him, if you don't disavow them, if you don't tell us that you stand with us, we will not give you money. We will attack you. They're going to come for him hard. And there's going to be such a strong incentive for him to condemn America
I don't think there
first.
actually will be.
And he might say, I condemn anti-Semitism, I condemn the Groypers, and he might have some reason for that. But we'll know what the message means. It's a signal. And the signal is, I'm with Israel first. Now, JD Vance, I'll tell you this. You don't like me, I don't like you. But if you cross that red line, I promise you, I swear.
Sounds like Obama a bit.
I will be there in Iowa with 10,000 Groypers, and we will be at every event. We will be at every event. And we will be doing events of our own, and we will be knocking on doors, and we will be spending money. I'll be raising money to do it. Many will do it for free. You think they're a pain in your ass? We'll be a bigger pain in your ass because there's more of us, and we want it more. They have the clocks. We have the time. Cross that red line, we will be your worst enemy. Politically, important to clarify. If you stay neutral, maybe we'll recuse ourselves. Maybe we'll stay out of it. No promises. But if you do something for us, if you do something for America first, maybe you'll get our votes. And maybe you'll get our support. And maybe that means
vindicating
a year ago, maybe
Richard Spencer.
Now, maybe in a couple of years, it'll mean a lot. This is how we engage in politics. People say we're never going to vote our way out of it. You're right. But we can use politics to our advantage. If we're united, if we're organized, if we have a coordinated message, if we make it clear,
no promises.
We will not tolerate any more concessions to Israel first. Only America first. That's how you're going to get the under 25 demographic. If you try it to appease the Israel First lobby, I promise you, you will lose the under 25 demographic. Forget about it. They won't turn out. They will not turn out. No one will turn out to support more of that status quo. You can wave that goodbye. I promise you that, and they know that. So you're going to have to make a decision. Their money or our votes? Israel first.
Wait, I thought we couldn't vote our way out of it, though.
Or America first and the actual national interest of this country. That's your decision. And that's the decision, by the way, for all of them. Any prospective candidate, all the think tanks, all the congressmen, that's your choice. But we have to focus our efforts on the presidential primary in 2028. And I don't think that should be a difficult decision to make.
So now he's reeling it back. Now, after months, years of him saying he's a shill, he's a Fed, he's CIA, he's being propped up by Peter. Now he's reeling that back and he's saying, look, as long as you don't disavow us, if you stay neutral, hey, maybe we'll vote for you. Neutral. Not even if he does the things you want him to do, but if he's neutral, we'll vote for you. Like, what the fuck, dude? What are you talking about? You had like a holy crusade against this man for years. And now you're saying, you're reeling it back and saying, look, guys, this was yesterday, October 31st. This was yesterday. Just don't disavow us. Do you think JD Vance is going to disavow him? I don't think so. No, I know he's not going to disavow him. Well, I should say, I know from now on he's not going to disavow him because he already fucking disavowed him. Here's a clip from August 2024 where he disavowed him, calling him a total loser.
In your own movement, that's what I want to ask about, because one of the supremacists who was saying things like this about your family, Nick Fuentes, an avowed anti-Semite, went after your wife. He had previously dined at Mar-a-Lago with Donald Trump. Does this have any room in your movement, in the MAGA movement?
Of course it doesn't have any room.
Of course it doesn't.
You disavow him and this.
Of course it doesn't.
Trump has criticized this person. Look, I think the guy's a total loser. Certainly I disavow him. But if you ask me what I care more about, is it a person attacking me personally, or is it government policy that discriminates based on race? That's what I really worry about.
In your
What the hell was that? What even reaction was? What the fuck are you talking about? Government policy that discriminates on race. What? She's asking a specific question here. And he switches it instantly to government policy about race. What? They're trying to pull the wool over our eyes. And he's trying to say, no, actually, forget all the shit I used to say about him, about he's a fat idiot, he's a paid CIA shill. No, as long as he doesn't disavow us. He already disavowed you in August of 2024. Before the presidency, he already did that. And you're now going to say, no, actually, that's going to be... I don't think he's going to disavow him again. I think that's it. He's fine. He wants him. And he's going to use him as a mouthpiece to get elected. That's what's going to happen.